Hey, how's it going, everyone? I just got back from the theater from watching Spider-Man Brand New Day, the fourth Tom Holland Spider-Man movie, and honestly, it might be my favorite. I don't know if that's just recency bias talking because I literally just watched it, but I don't know. Far From Home was pretty damn good, but I think this movie might have taken a #1 spot for me. And yes, I am saying Far From Home is one of, if not my favorite Spider-Man movie, because it has Jake Gyllenhaal, and I think his performance as Mysterio is one of, if not the best on-screen villain performances I've ever seen. This movie takes place about 4 years after the events of Spider-Man No Way Home, after Doctor Strange's spell. The entire world has forgotten about Peter Parker, and Peter is basically starting over completely on his own. But before I really start talking about this movie, I just want to say how fucking glad I am that I stayed off my phone for the 2 or 3 days leading up to this movie's release. My sign to do that was when I logged on Twitter, and within like 5 minutes of being on there, someone had literally uploaded a full bootleg cam recording of the entire Spider-Man movie, and I knew right then that social media was going to be absolutely filled with spoilers. And as soon as I got home from the theater and I'm getting ready for bed, doing my nighttime routine of just scrolling on Instagram Reels till I get tired, I see one of the fucking end scenes from the movie just straight up filmed on a camcorder. I'm so glad I didn't see that before going into the theater. This is definitely one of those movies where I think going in completely blind makes the experience so much better. And another thing I want to mention before I actually start talking about the movie is just how fucking packed the theater was. I mean, this was probably the first time I've ever gone to a movie where I literally couldn't find parking anywhere near the theater. I ended up having to park like 2 or 3 blocks away. And when I finally got inside, there were at least 3 or 4 people walking around wearing full-on Spider-Man suits. The entire theater was just fucking flooded with people, and I've honestly never seen a theater this packed before. So I bought my tickets about 2 to 3 days in advance, and the only seats I could get were in the fucking second row. So I low-key had to break my neck while watching this movie, but it was worth it. Even though there were some certain scenes where I was just sitting there moving my head left and right trying to see what was going on. So I definitely want to go back and watch this movie again, but this time I'm getting some seats that are a little bit more accommodating. A lot of people are calling this the best Spider-Man movie, and honestly, I'm gonna have to agree. But you also have to take into consideration that for me, I've only seen the Tom Holland movies and the animated Spider-Verse movies. I definitely understand that I'm probably not the most qualified person to say that this is the best Spider-Man movie ever made, but based on what I've seen, I really fucking enjoyed this movie. Unfortunately, I don't really feel like I can talk about this movie a whole lot without getting into spoilers, so I'm just gonna go ahead and give you guys a huge spoiler warning. I'm gonna be talking about the end of this movie, so if you haven't seen it yet, please do yourself a favor, pause this video, go and watch the movie, then come back. So yeah, I feel like I was one of the only people on earth not expecting Jean Grey to be in this movie. I intentionally avoided any trailers, teasers, or anything related to this movie. I didn't watch or engage with any conspiracy theories. I didn't look at leaks. I didn't want to know anything. Personally, I like going into the movies completely blind. I love that sense of wonder. I like being able to sit in the theater and genuinely have no fucking clue what's about to happen. I mean, I think that's a lost art these days. You can just go into a movie and not know everything about it. Hell, I didn't even know that Punisher was going to be in this movie. And speaking of the Punisher, I was honestly shocked by how big of a role he had. I really liked him in this movie. I actually like the Punisher so much that I'm probably going to go watch the Punisher series now. From what I've heard and from what I've seen so far, the Punisher in the TV series is obviously a much more brutal version of the character. This movie is a PG-13 version of the Punisher, but honestly, it fucking works. I think the dynamic between Spider-Man and the Punisher is one of the best parts of the movie. Their interactions feel like they're ripped straight out of a comic book, where the way they banter with each other and interact genuinely feels like you're reading a comic book page, and I love that. So now we're gonna move on to Jean Grey. Jean Grey's entire motive throughout this movie is that she's after VMAX, and we eventually learn that VMAX was the last thing her sister saw before Damage Control killed her, and that's the entire reason Jean Grey is even involved in this situation. Damage Control took her sister, experimented on her, and ultimately killed her. So Jean Grey is out for revenge, which is honestly a pretty solid fucking motive, and Spider-Man obviously gets in her way, so she starts targeting him. The first 10 or 15 minutes of this movie do a really good job of making Jean Grey feel genuinely intimidating, because you're sitting there thinking, how the fuck is Spider-Man supposed to beat this person? She can jump between people, she can possess them, she can make them say whatever she wants. And then she possesses MJ, and she tells Spider-Man, I remember everything, Peter. I love you. But even while I was watching this in the theater, I knew that this was probably Jean Grey pretending to be MJ. Right after they finish kissing, and she says something along the lines of hold her for a little longer. And I remember, and it was pretty fucking killer, I'm not gonna lie. And I think that's one of the things I really fucked with about this movie. And I went into this movie completely blind. I mean, I guess everyone and their grandmother knew Jean Grey was gonna be in this movie. It was probably Hollywood's worst kept secret, but I didn't watch any trailers. I didn't watch any teasers. One of my favorite reveals is when Peter has this nightmare sequence where he falls off of his balcony in his underwear, and then this random kid walks up to him and says something like, hey man, you doing all right, Peter Parker, because you got that monster inside your head. And it's like, oh my god, bro, like, how is he gonna beat this person? Like, how is he gonna beat this supernatural entity? Because you gotta remember, I did not know this was Jean Grey. One of my favorite parts about this movie is how they handled Peter Parker's isolation after No Way Home. I really liked how they handled Peter not being able to reconnect with his friends, and that takes a huge emotional toll on him. It's not just Peter waving at them from across the street and them being like, oh my god, hey, I love this guy. No, he has to live with the fact that people he loved don't even know who he is anymore. And then we get this really good scene where MJ finds the letter that Peter wrote, and Peter basically admits, hey, this is who we were in love, we had something that no one could stop, and because of Doctor Strange's spell, that version of MJ doesn't exist anymore. She doesn't remember him, and she doesn't love him. And I actually think that when MJ tells Peter that the version of her who loves Spider-Man is gone, she's not being cold, she's just being honest, because to her, Peter Parker is a complete fucking stranger. And one of my favorite parts about the movie is that they just didn't instantly force themselves back together. Now, I do think they're probably gonna get back together eventually, maybe 2 or 3 movies from now. I wouldn't be surprised, but at least for now, the movie actually sticks to its guns, and I appreciate that. At the very end of the movie, when the Punisher tries to shoot Jean Grey, Spider-Man jumps in front of her and gets shot in the back. And for a moment, I genuinely thought Spider-Man fucking died. I know there's no real way they're gonna kill Spider-Man permanently. And speaking of Spider-Man, I think Tom Holland is really starting to come into his own in this movie. I would honestly say this is probably the most Spider-Man-y Spider-Man movie I've ever seen, and Tom Holland's performance is fucking goated. You can really feel how emotionally damaged Peter is. He's isolated, he's alone, he's dealing with all of this shit by himself. And then when Jean Grey gets inside his mind, it doesn't just start taking over him, it starts changing him. I mean, you see this motherfucker throw Scorpion into a cop car. That was one of my favorite parts of the movie. Introduce this girl whose office is in a hot tub, and she tells Spider-Man, you're dealing with small potato stuff while we deal with big potato stuff. Like, who do you think you are? Are you forgetting who you're talking to? You're talking to Spider-Man. I don't know, I just didn't like the introduction. I think it made her pretty hateable, and I think that's why the second half of this movie, I don't want to say disappointing, but it kind of did fall off. It's still good, but it's not as good. It's kind of like The Wolf of Wall Street, where the first half of the movies is one of the best movies you've ever seen, and then something happens in the second half and you're just like, oh damn. One of the things I really like though was the concept behind damage control and the villains. They take these former villains and give them a purpose. It's kind of like Cecil in Invincible, where he takes former bad guys and uses their abilities for the betterment of the world. I also really like seeing Hulk on the big screen again. The entire action sequence with Hulk it fucked really hard. The first part of it honestly felt like a horror movie where you have the Hulk running through the building and there's like, you can like hardly see him. And then it turns into this huge action sequence and Hulk just goes fucking ballistic. And I guess Jean Grey entered his mind, got him to take off the inhibitor, and then got back into his head. My only real gripe with the Hulk being in this movie is that I don't really think he added a whole lot to the movie. I mean, he was cool, don't get me wrong. I like seeing him fight Spider-Man on the big screen. He kind of just shows up, hulks out, and then goes back to being a professor. It really doesn't build up to anything. It really doesn't add anything to the story. Hulk probably killed dozens, if not hundreds of people during his fight with Spider-Man, and are they just gonna let him go back to being a professor after that? It kind of just felt like he was just there because it was cool to have Hulk in the movie, and don't get me wrong, it was, but I don't know if he really needed to be there. Circling back to Jean Grey, one of the biggest problems I had with her character, I don't understand why she hesitated to kill the man who killed her sister. He openly taunted her about killing her sister. Jean Grey finally has this guy tied up. He's completely powerless. He's got shards of glass right up to his neck. And then she hesitates. Why? Why aren't you killing him? Why aren't you stabbing this guy in the chest and ripping his heart out? He killed your fucking sister. I don't know why at this moment of time she decides to hesitate. And maybe we could have seen what happens when Jean Grey truly fucking loses it, because at one point she's got like a 1.5 mile radius of people under her spell. Who knows what she could have done? She could have made everyone go unconscious. Maybe she makes them start killing each other. Who knows? And that's low-key what I wanted to see. Jean Grey even tells Spider-Man that Damage Control has a task force specifically designed to kill him if he ever goes AWOL. And honestly, it makes sense. You know, it's kind of how Cecil has a contingency backup plan for Mark and Invincible. You have these extremely powerful people, and you need to have a plan in case they ever turn against you. Another thing that bothered me about Jean Grey is how she interacts with people's minds. And she goes into Spider-Man's mind, and that kind of serves as her like come to Jesus moment. She sees his trauma, she sees how isolated he is, she gets this heartfelt speech from Aunt May. That's when she realizes, hey, she shouldn't kill this guy, even though she openly killed an old guy she made walk into the street in the beginning of the movie, right during the climax of this emotional moment between Jean Grey and Spider-Man, where she's getting this heartfelt speech from Aunt May. The Punisher hits a gnarly 360 no scope, and then we get this huge fake out where Spider-Man is in the hospital and nobody knows if he's gonna survive, and Spider-Man lives because Jean Grey was breathing for him. But then I started thinking about Jean Grey a little bit more. She goes into Spider-Man's mind, but then she goes into Hulk's mind and she comes out completely fine, and you know there's some fucked up shit in there. And then she goes into the Punisher's mind, and she kind of uses it as like a little like one-liner, like, wow, this guy's fucked up. And she just jokes about it. If you go into Spider-Man's mind and that was enough to make you question about everything that you're doing, then what the fuck did she see when she went into the Punisher's mind? I don't know, man. I still think Jean Grey should have killed the guy who killed her sister, because at the end of the day, that's the entire reason she's even there. She has the man responsible standing right in front of her, tied up, powerless, and completely at her mercy. And then she just hesitates. I didn't buy it. Overall, I fucking love this movie. The first half of this movie in particular is some of the most fun I've had watching a Spider-Man movie. I loved going into it completely blind. I love the surprises. I love the Spider-Man and Punisher dynamic. I love seeing Tom Holland really come into his own in this movie. I love the emotional side of Peter, completely isolated from the people he loves. And I love the fact that this movie actually took the consequences of No Way Home seriously. I just think the second half starts to lose some of that momentum. It's still good. It's still a great movie. There are certain character decisions that I just don't completely understand, and I think the movie could have taken a few more risks. After thinking about everything, I'm probably going to give Spider-Man Brand New Day an 8.5 out of 10. I think this is probably my favorite Tom Holland Spider-Man movie so far. I don't think it's perfect. I definitely have my problems with the second half, but at the end of the day, I had a fucking blast watching this movie. I got to sit in that theater with a packed audience, surrounded by people wearing Spider-Man suits, sitting way too close to the screen with my little $15 Spider-Man cup that I bought from Regal. And that's what I love about going to the movies, man. I don't want to see half the movie in a trailer before I even buy my ticket. I just want to sit down, turn my brain off for a couple hours, and be surprised. Spider-Man Brand New Day gave me that experience. I'm gonna give it an 8.5 out of 10. I fucking loved it, man. I'm gonna go and watch The Punisher, because after watching this movie, I need to see more Frank Castle. That's my review of Spider-Man Brand New Day. Let me know what you guys thought about the movie, especially if you went into it completely blind like I did. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure to like and subscribe. I'll see you guys in the next one.